Hello. Today's book is another B Traven novel, Trozas. 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 Trozas means logs or pieces. In this case, it means logs because this is about the jungle Chiapas mahogany industry in the early 20th century. The novel was written or released in 1936. B Traven is my ultimate favorite novel, not only for the great books, I love the books, I've read all the novels, but also for the fantastic story of his life and what he accomplished and how he kept out of the view of the public. To run down the story a little bit, which is completely murky, and I love that it sort of stays murky. There's been there was a BBC documentary some years that purported to have his, I don't know, brother and sister or whatever in it that, ended up not being true. So whatever, the origins of B Traven is as an actor and a writer of plays and so forth, and an agitator, political sort of anarchist type in Weimar, Germany. So he was a German guy. When that all started to break up and he was in trouble with the Weimar Republic, he fled and takes off to ultimately to Mexico, and stayed in Mexico the rest of his life and produced all these novels as B Traven. On the way over, the first of the novels is The Death Ship, which is about a voyage on a ship and the amount of paperwork that you need to get from here to there in the 20th century, how everything had started to change with government bureaucracy being all built up, and you couldn't just sort of walk across borders anymore and go from this part of the world to the other part of the world, and it wasn't free anymore. Anyway, it's about once again, like Trozas, it's about an entrapped worker. This was the Death Ship. I think it was Shanghai or something. Anyway, a guy ends up on a boat and he can't get off because he has no papers, and he's basically trapped as a worker on this horrible ship out in the ocean, going round and round and round. It's a great novel. So that, he got into the Trozas Sierra Madre, I think was the second one, and that's great. It became a movie. Humphrey Bogart, Walter Huston, directed by John Huston, and it's pretty great. And it's not my favorite of the books. The Bridge in the Jungle I love, and is the only other one that I've read twice. This is the second one I read twice just now. Why did I read it again? I was browsing at the library, looking through the shelves, and there was this brand new, lovely paperback copy of Trozas, B Traven. And I don't normally every day see B Traven on the shelves of my local library, and it looked like it had never been touched. So I said, I'm going to check this thing out. So at least we have a checkout of B Traven, and we show that there is interest in the work of this great, wonderful writer. And so I checked it out, not really particularly intending to read it, but ultimately I did. I read it again, and I loved it. Actually, I was probably a little high when I read it the first time, so I absorbed it a lot better this time. So what goes on is it's all about the as I said, the exploitation of the mahogany trees, giant trees in Chiapas in the middle of the jungle. And this is harvested by sort of unseen force called the company is in charge of all this. And the company has, of course, functionaries below them who make everything happen. There are contractors who go around and get the workers. In this case, the workers are Indians, and the workers are really basically slaves. The contractors, an Indian has debt for some reason, or is pulled into debt, and that's how the whole ride starts. They have to be contracted then to go work in the Montera, in the jungle, to do this, really horrible work of harvesting this wood. So the first part is all about the setup of the contractors and the official administrator of the kind of home office in the outskirts of the jungle. Everything is far away, everything is brought in by like teams of traders who travel all over, with carts to bring stuff to sell to these offices all over the place, where the workers are assembled and then sent off from there into the jungle to do the actual work. So we have quite a picture of the home office, how it's just banged together, rustic, no furniture, nothing really, just completely a camp. They have some prostitutes, which the administrator and other people exploit. They have the official tavern where they sell the liquor, but all these other places as well that have come in and set up on their own and are tolerated by the administrator or whatever. So you got a real picture of all this, and also how the Indians are signed up to this, and how they are given, okay, you're going to have 50 pesos, whatever, to shop at the company store here to get the supplies that you're going to need to do the work off in the jungle. So once again, they're going to be buying from the company store at these inflated prices, which just continues to raise their debt, which means it continues to continue their time. They're going to have to be slaves of this horrible industry. So it just mounts up and mounts up and mounts up, and ultimately they can kind of never really get out of it, because once they are working in the jungle, if they don't get enough tonnage of the logs for the day, then they don't get paid. So it's like this, they're always there's always these structures to screw them up and rip them off and keep them enslaved. They're also beaten. They are beaten by the the captain, the straw boss of this basically slave group that is brought out into the jungle to do the actual work. They have hatchet guys who are chopping down the actual trees, and they have to buy the axes themselves and not lose them in the jungle. It's very easy to lose things in the jungle because it's completely thick and filled with so much stuff, you know. So it's easy to lose anything in the jungle, including your tools. So they have to be very careful about that. And as I said, they're beaten. A new man comes on, and the first thing they do is beat him to show them who's boss and show them what they're going. I mean, whip them with a whip. They also do hanging. If they don't work hard enough or don't get enough, they are hung in the jungle, I guess, for a few hours. It doesn't really. Other books describes what the hanging is all about. Not hang unto death, but hang as in torture, as in punishment for not working hard enough. So we do meet a few of the characters. There's a young boy, Vincente, who is brought into it, who is sold by his mother, basically, because his dad had been kicked by a horse or something, and he was dead and had to have a good burial. So just in order to pay for the burial, Vincente had to be contracted into this horrible business. There's dangers in the jungles. There are pumas in the jungles. It's wild. There are mud morasses in the jungles where the water collects. There are snakes in the jungle. One character is bitten by a rattlesnake, and it doesn't go very well for him, even though others try to help him. And the overseers are basically uncaring. Now we don't have enough people to work, or if his leg is cut off because of the rattlesnake bite and we have to take off his leg, he can work with a peg leg, or stuff like that. They're just incredible cruelty. The company in the beginning, the company owns this business, these particular people, and the company is sold to the Montellanos, who are Spaniards. They're said to be actual Spaniards from Spain, and they call themselves brothers, but they're not really brothers. And they are contractors who have gotten rich enough to buy the whole company, and they are vicious. They are worse than the previous company people. And there's basically all the contractors then have to can either stay on with their people or sell their people to the Montañeros, Montellanos. And so that's all described in this too. It's really it's an adventure novel as well, as because it takes you somewhere that you're not going to go anyway. On the other way, I assume you're not down in Chiapas, pounding around in the jungle or whatever's left of it. I don't know what it's like down there. I'd really like to go check it out, although I don't think I'm going to be. I'm up for jungle life. It's very hot in the jungle. They have nothing. They have pants. They are working in the jungle, shirtless, shoeless, with ragged pants, because they have nothing. They're poor slaves, and that's all they're left with to work. So as I said, the hatchet people chop the thing down. There's also machete people that chop everything through the jungle, and then there's the oxen drivers. They use oxen to pull the big logs. They put a chain to the big logs, put a point on one end of it, the mahogany, and they put a chain on it and try to haul it out of the jungle with oxen. And this is not easy because the jungle is the jungle. It gets caught in a root, and then the root has to be dug out or pulled back or whatever. All these things that they go through, and it's hot. They're all sweating. The animals are sweating. It's hell. And this is their daily lives. Plus, if they don't get enough, if they don't move enough that particular day, they're going to be punished, not paid, whipped, or hung. So it's all just terrible, and they have no representation. There's nobody to stop this kind of exploitation. There's nothing, and there are. He does make some references to where it all goes. It all goes to the rich European and American people who make beautiful tables and chairs out of all this stuff. While the people in the jungle who are doing it have nothing, get nothing, and the most they can ever hope for is somehow to work out their contract and go back home to their wives and children or whomever, go back to some kind of a life that they tried to put together before this, working on the farms or estates, sort of feudal estates, and all these other avenues of exploitation of the indigenous people by Mexico and Mexican government. What else do I have to say about it? So yeah, it's completely great. We do meet a few of the characters. We meet Andre, who was one of the drivers of the oxen, and Vincente, who was given to him to work with him as an assistant, so he can learn to be an oxen driver himself. He's small. He's a boy still, so he doesn't really have the strength, the physical strength to do the work and really be a decent assistant, because in order to keep the logs from getting stuck, you have hooks to grab it and pull it up, but you have to be able to lift it to a certain extent to get it from sliding under the roots and whatever. Oh, they also go into the mud. The path has to go through here, so they go into what he calls a morass, a muddy area where the mud, it's like quicksand, basically. I love quicksand in the movies, but this is like real quicksand where you get into it and you just sort of sink in, and it's really hard to get out. The oxen can't really maneuver through it either, and the logs get stuck in it and have to be dug out, and it's just it's hell. So this was a view of hell. Not that it is an unpleasant read. There's the tone of B Traven is not hysterical at all. It's kind of matter of fact. It says this is the way it is. This is, and basically, I guess the message to any readers like me up into the future here, all these years later, is that this is what your culture, your lifestyle is supporting to get these this kind of stuff. Oh, you ever hear about the cobalt mines going on in what, Africa now? How there's people, so we can keep the batteries in my iPhone that I'm using right now to record this, and all the electric cars that they're making, cobalt for the batteries, how basically children and families are digging through this rubble in these mines by hand to dig out the cobalt, to totally exploited people that ends up that Peter Cook or whoever his name is, the captains of tech end up making enormous livings off of, and all of us also enjoy, but without much thought of the exploitation and horror that people are going through so we can have these lovely devices and toys that we communicate with and enjoy so very, very much. So life ain't easy, and I really recommend reading B Traven's novels. This is the third of the Jungle novels. You can see the listings of them if you look it up. Any of the Jungle books, I really love the Jungle novels, as well as I said, The Bridge in the Jungle, which is a little earlier. And B Traven is just my favorite. He's a magical guy. When he was just, the stories about him are just so cool. Like, John Huston made the movie of Treasure of Sierra Madre, and Harvey Croves, this guy named Croves is sent to be B. Traven's representative on the script and so forth during the production of the novel. But of course, Croves is indeed B. Traven, but doesn't admit it and plays this other character of Trozas because he's very secretive. He is not giving interviews. He is not in the press. He is not a celebrity writer. He is a secret writer, and that's one of the things that make him so completely magical and wonderful and independent, because he's not dependent on this celebrity and what he says out of his mouth and the scandals about his love life or whatever that goes on with novels authors who we know about. So in the case of B. Traven, you don't know that much about him, and that the books therefore stand on their own as what his life was about and what his life represented and what he ultimately did with it. And it is just completely wonderful, and I love my B. Traven.